F1 has always pushed drivers to their limits, both mentally and physically, in a relentless pursuit of victory. But what I'm about to show you crosses into personal territory. Sochi, round 4 of the 2016 Formula 1 season. Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel is looking for a strong result, but right behind him is Russia's home hero, Daniil Kvyat in a Red Bull, full of confidence after a podium in China just 2 weeks earlier. As the race begins, the tension is high and the field is tightly packed heading into the first corners. Turn 1 goes smoothly, but chaos erupts right after. Kvyat misjudges his braking and tags the rear of Vettel's Ferrari. The German tries to recover, but seconds later, another hit.
I think it's maybe Ricciardo that came off worse, and there's a spin! There's a spinning Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel, and he is out!
I'm not sure if this was intentional or just a massive misjudgment, but either way, the reaction was immediate and furious. Here's what Sebastian Vettel had to say over the team radio.
I'm out! Crash! Somebody hit me in the rear, turn 2, and then somebody hit me in the rear again in turn 3.
Later that day, Kvyat faced the media to admit his mistake.
I apologize for ruining his race, but yeah, I'm human and his sudden deceleration was too much for me at that point.
Red Bull called it a disaster, and within 2 weeks, he was demoted to Toro Rosso, replaced by Max Verstappen. You may have been like that the first time you heard it.
They changed the drivers.
Verstappen replacing Kvyat was certainly a boost for Red Bull, but with that boost came conflict. Baku, a street circuit wrapped in concrete, tension, and 90-degree corners. The 2023 sprint starts fast, 20 laps, no room, no margin.
And Formula 1 is sprinting away in Baku.
Verstappen holds P2. Russell, aggressive as ever, sees a gap into turn 2. Russell dives down the inside. Verstappen turns in, thinking it's his line. Russell's front right brushes Verstappen's side pod.
This one, neither will Verstappen, and Verstappen is shown the wall. What a move, George Russell!
Not a big hit, but it's made Verstappen a little bit angry.
Lovely job, Max. Without contact as well. Nicely done.
Yeah, I know how to do that.
Verstappen finishes P2, Russell just P8. But the real moment? After the race, Max doesn't wait, straight to Russell, no shouting, just cold, direct confrontation.
Mate, we all have no grip. You all need to leave a little bit of space. I'd expect the next time the same, you know?
The steward said racing incident, but Verstappen didn't forget. In the paddock, in the press, and weeks later, it lingered. One side saw a bold move, the other saw no respect. In sprint races, there's no time to settle scores, just enough time to start them. Nurburgring, July 2007. The weather is unpredictable, adrenaline is high, and the top 2 rivals are on a collision course.
So that's why they're ebbing and flowing through the track. But Alonso overall has the much faster.
But there was a background to this collision. At the Spanish GP in Barcelona, Alonso and Massa tangled at turn 1, with Alonso slowing in the gravel and accusing Massa of trying to take him out of the race. Alonso said he was way ahead and was surprised by the move, while Massa denied any wrongdoing. Months passed and the title fight continued, but the memory of Barcelona was never fully erased. And when the paddock arrived at the Nurburgring for lap 10, tensions would boil over once again. We're speeding towards the Nurburgring. It's raining on the track. Massa leads from the beginning of the race until lap 56, but there's a chaser behind him.
Faster car. It's just that Massa is continually placing.
They touch wheels.
Incredible. He's got away with it. He takes the lead. Alonso in the lead.
Alonso comes in at turn 5, they make contact, and Alonso takes P1. He crosses the line first. A heroic drive in the wet. Victory should have brought relief, but instead it led to conflict. Alonso showed his damaged side leg in front of the cameras, and this is what happens when they meet.
Vince dice una cosa così. Vince dice una cosa così. Nico, prova a imparare, bravo. Prova a imparare.
Shortly afterwards, on the podium, Alonso apologized to the public. Talent shone in the wet conditions of the Nurburgring, but the spilled gravel of Barcelona added to the tension. Mild compared to what's coming? Maybe, but still, this one etched itself into F1's long memory. As the 2009 season neared its end, the Interlagos Grand Prix was the last chance for many drivers to score points, prove themselves, or simply finish the season on a high note. Toyota driver Jarno Trulli, as usual, delivered a strong qualifying performance and got off to a good start in the race. Beside him was Adrian Sutil, who had shown flashes of brilliance throughout the season but had yet to reach the podium. Sutil was still trying to prove himself at Force India. His strong performance at Spa was still fresh in people's minds, but things played out differently in Brazil. We're only in the first lap of the race. Everyone is trying to be cautious, but by the time they reach turn 5, things spiral out of control. Sutil, focused on the slowing Raikkonen ahead, stays a bit on the inside line. Trulli sees an opportunity and dives in from the outside, but out wide there are curbs, not asphalt. As Trulli goes off the racing line, he loses control. The rear of his car snaps out and he slams straight into Sutil.
This is Sutil versus Trulli coming through turn 4.
The Force India skids onto the grass, can't stop, and ends up colliding with Alonso's Renault as well.
So it's Alonso's car that was steaming at the top of the hill, not the Toyota.
3 cars out of the race on the very first lap. It's a major incident, but the real drama hasn't even started yet. Trulli gets out of his car, not even bothering to take off his gloves, and starts walking straight towards Sutil. He's not just upset, he's furious. The cameras are right there, but Trulli doesn't care. Trulli waves his finger and shouts angrily.
I don't know which bit of that Jarno Trulli thought was Sutil's fault. It looked more like Jarno's fault to me. He was coming down the outside and he's going to say you didn't leave me any space, but I think he was busy trying not to run into the back of the Ferrari.
Right after the incident, the race stewards listen to both sides. No specific penalty is handed out for the collision, it's just deemed a racing incident. But the FIA fines Trulli $10,000 for confronting Sutil in an aggressive manner. But the story doesn't end there. Just 1 week later, during the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix press conference, the FIA sits the media and the drivers at the same table. Trulli and Sutil are side by side, and the incident is brought up once again.
He lost control of his car and crashed in my back, so it was not my problem, it was his problem. I don't know why he's freaking out like that, to be honest.
I spun and he hit me because he cut the curb. He cut completely.
Sometimes the biggest clashes in Formula 1 don't happen on the track, but in front of the cameras, in the pit lane, or at press conferences. And the Trulli versus Sutil saga was exactly one of those moments. It didn't shake up the race, but the season. Not the points table, but our memories. May 7th, 2006, Nurburgring, the European Grand Prix. Giancarlo Fisichella versus Jacques Villeneuve. It wasn't just a ruined lap, it was a flashpoint between 2 very different drivers from 2 very different eras of Formula 1. Fisichella was feeling the pressure. He was at Renault, the top team on the grid at the time. But no matter what he did, he was always in the shadow of his teammate, Fernando Alonso. Weekends like this were his chance to prove he still belonged at the top. Villeneuve, on the other hand, was on the comeback trail. Yes, he was the 1997 world champion, but those glory days felt long gone. After years of drifting through the midfield, he'd found a seat at BMW Sauber. It wasn't a title contending car, but for him, it was a lifeline. A final chance to show he could still fight. The stage was set, midfield battle, lap 17, but the biggest sparks flew long before the race during qualifying. It was Q2 and things were heating up. Fisichella was on a hot lap. He was flying. Making it into Q3 was well within reach. Then, suddenly, a slower car appeared ahead.
On his final flying lap, he came across an off-the-pace Villeneuve, and he didn't appreciate it.
The Renault driver's lap was destroyed. Fisichella missed out on Q3. He would have to start the race from 11th on the grid. But the real fireworks? They came after the session. Fisichella stormed back to the paddock. You could see the anger in his eyes. He marched straight to the BMW garage, and that's what happened there.
Hai parlato un cazzo! Ma hai rovinato il giro, 13esimo per i cazzi suoi! Non è giusto! Questa cosa la paghi,
Then came race day. Fisichella dug deep, kept his cool, and fought his way up the field. He finished 6th. Villeneuve? Despite starting just ahead, he only managed 8th. On paper, it was just a qualifying incident, but if you were really paying attention, you could tell it meant more. George Russell and Valtteri Bottas had been circling each other for months, a younger driver eager to prove himself against the man whose seat he wanted. At Imola in 2021, that tension came to a head in the wet, unpredictable conditions of the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. It was mid-race and Russell, driving for Williams, was pushing hard. He'd been climbing the order and now found himself right behind Bottas in the Mercedes, the very car he believed he deserved. They were fighting for 9th, a low-stakes position for most, but for Russell, this was everything. For laps, the gap closed. The straight leading to Tamburello was slick and dangerous, but Russell had DRS and the momentum. He pulled to the right, but then history was made in just a second.
Who hits Bottas? Yes, because he gets onto the grass.
What the was he doing? Honestly. Is he a what?
The Williams was shattered, the Mercedes wrecked, but it didn't end there. As Russell stepped out of the car, he released the anger he had been holding in all season. He marched to Bottas, exchanging words, and, in a moment seen by millions, slapped Bottas's helmet in frustration.
What the? Oh. Are you okay, Valtteri?
The wet grass, of course.
Well, he believes that it was Valtteri's fault.
The crash had taken both drivers out of the race, but it had also ignited one of the most personal flashpoints in recent F1 history. What was at stake wasn't just a points finish, it was pride, reputation, and the future of a Mercedes seat. The damage was done, literally and figuratively. The race continued, but Russell watched from the sidelines, fuming. Bottas, still seated, stared straight ahead in disbelief. There were no championship points at stake that day, but the consequences rippled far beyond Imola. But if Verstappen had been in this situation, it could have been really troublesome. In 2018, Max Verstappen was already known for his fearless overtaking, but in Brazil, the situation was reversed. This time, Max wasn't the hunter, he was the hunted. It was round 20 at Interlagos. With Lewis Hamilton on pole position, Verstappen had qualified in 5th place. But when the lights went out, Max drove away from the pack at a relentless pace. By lap 44, he was leading the race and heading for a sensational victory. Then came Esteban Ocon. The Force India driver was a lap down, but on faster tires. He tried to save himself and it backfired spectacularly. Ocon collided with Verstappen, who was side by side in the Senna S.
That is Max Verstappen, the race leader, and he has spun.
Max was furious. He shouted over the team radio, having lost the lead to Hamilton.
What an idiot! What an idiot!
There was nothing the race engineer could say to calm him down, and he crossed the line in 2nd place.
I don't know what to say, mate. I do not know what to say about that.
Max's response?
I know what to say. I hope I can't find him now in the paddock, because then he has...
And so it happened. In the post-race weighing area, Max walked up to Ocon and pushed him hard. The cameras caught every second.
Yes, Verstappen pushes Ocon. The tension is sky high between them.
Ocon received a race penalty for causing the collision, while Verstappen received a community service penalty for the push. Both were angry, but for different reasons. Ocon said afterwards,
I'm really surprised of his behavior after the race. We went on the scale, started to punch me, wanted to punch me and stuff, and this is not professional.
Max's anger still hadn't subsided.
That's such an idiot. You get taken out while he's being lapped. I don't know what to say. Still, I mean, I'm happy for 2nd, but we should have won today.
For him, it was not just about a lost victory, it was about respect on the track. But it was even more respectful than what happened next. Let's rewind to 1982. Nelson Piquet was having a dream race. He was leading in his Brabham, everything under control. The car was dialed in, the pace was strong, and he looked set to take home the win without much fuss. Then, out of nowhere, chaos erupted. He came up behind Eliseo Salazar, who was driving for the ATS team that day. Piquet was lapping him. Nothing out of the ordinary, just one of those standard moves you see a dozen times in a race. Or at least it should have been. But it wasn't. Salazar didn't back off enough heading into the chicane. Whether it was a misjudgment or just stubbornness, he held his line a little too aggressively. Piquet, assuming Salazar would yield like any backmarker should, committed to the corner, and in an instant contact, Salazar clipped Piquet's car, sending him spinning off the track. The rear wing was destroyed, the Brabham slammed into the barriers, and just like that, Piquet's race was finished in the most frustrating way imaginable. Most drivers would have thrown their hands in the air and stormed off, but not Nelson. He gets out of his car, goes straight to Salazar and puts him in his place. He pushes, he punches, he even gives him a little kick for good measure. Salazar didn't respond with his own kicks, probably too shocked to know what to do. The whole thing looks more like a UFC match than a Formula 1 event. And the interesting thing is that Salazar is no ordinary ordinary driver for Piquet. They actually knew each other. Piquet helped Salazar get into F1 years ago. Think about it. You mentor a guy and he takes you out in the middle of a race. No wonder Nelson lost his temper. To this day, it remains one of the most bizarre and unintentionally hilarious moments in F1 history. Murray Walker, thankfully, summed it up perfectly.
The Colombian driver, I couldn't help it, said, and take that. Oh my goodness.
It really couldn't have been put any better. But compared to the others, my real favorite is the most iconic name in Formula 1. It's such a legendary event that even those who don't follow F1 must have heard about it somewhere. Schumacher and Coulthard at Spa. No introduction needed for this duo. August 30th, 1998, Belgian Grand Prix. The rain was relentless. Visibility was close to zero. On the first lap, Coulthard lost control at La Source, causing a 13-car pileup and a red flag restart.
This is the worst start for a Grand Prix that I have ever seen in the whole of my life.
After the restart, Schumacher found his way through the rain and opened up a significant lead, dominating the track as if it were his own and pulling away. Then Coulthard came into view, literally. Coulthard was told to let Schumacher pass. With the rain falling and water splashing off the straight, Schumacher didn't see Coulthard slowing down. The result?
David Coulthard in these appalling conditions. Oh God! Michael Schumacher hits David Coulthard and is out of the Belgian Grand Prix. Maybe he should have been a bit more circumspect about trying to pass him.
A massive impact on Coulthard's rear and Schumacher's Ferrari completely destroyed. The right front wing and wheel were torn off. Both cars returned to the pits nose to nose, but Schumacher didn't stay put. He jumped out of the car and ran down the pit lane with his eyes fixed on the McLaren garage. Ferrari engineers, the McLaren team, TV cameras, everyone was there. He burst in with a red face. In a fit of rage, Schumacher yelled at Coulthard, "You tried to kill me." It was complete chaos, with raw emotions exploding in real time. Yes, these were the moments that lifted the veil on the real, unfiltered side of Formula 1. Thanks for watching. This was just the first one. Stay tuned, more on the way. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe. You know how these things work.